up to university. So we would like to make sure that we address the issue, bring on board all the partners, all the stakeholders in the education sector, and see how we can improve the status of education. And as you all know, the problem worsened during the last 2 years because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns. For almost 2 years now, children have not gone to school. So now, how do we proceed from here? I would like to take a lot of time because some of our guests may need to leave the meeting. So the most important thing is we thank you for sparing your valuable time today, a Saturday, which you would have used in another maybe function or maybe relaxing, but you have been able to come together with us to discuss this important issue about education. So we thank you very much, and we look forward to very lively meeting, lively debate, and most especially, how do we get way forward that is implementable, that we can be really implementing in the near future, not just to discuss in this webinar and stop here. What are the key issues that will come out from the meeting and from our colleagues who are coming to help us from the SOGA that we shall distill, and in future we shall be able to implement. So we should be focused on that. I really welcome you, and we are very happy. We are committed as the KDA, Koboko Development Agency, in this endeavor for development. Thank you very much. Over to you, our moderator, Charles Yakani.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Board, KDA, for those opening remarks. Indeed, we are going to, we want to get actionable points from this webinar, things that we can actually implement as KDA together with the district education department. And that's why we have invited in this particular series of the webinar for KDA, we have invited the district education officer and also the municipal education officer to specifically tell us how our students performed in 2020 PLE, bearing in mind that other regions were learning online and other regions were also having homeschooling. Last year, we did have a webinar on homeschooling, the challenges that the district was facing. So when the schools were opened for short terms, eventually the primary sevens were able to sit for PLE. So we would like to hear from the municipal education officer and the district education officer how our students fared in the PLE. We are going to hear how the 2020 results compare with the 2019. We would like to hear from them what they felt in their analysis, what the issues were and still are. And then later on, we will look at how KDA and the district education department can work together with the partners who have come to help us, or at least with knowledge to begin with, how we can work together to improve education attainment for the P7 students of 2021 and generally raise the bar higher than it is at the moment. So I would like to invite our municipal education officer to just throw some light on the results. As board, we already analyzed the results also, but we'd like to hear from the horse's mouth. And then later on, we will put the action points together as we discuss in the plenary. So Mr. Kenyi, David Dimba, is the Municipal Education Officer for Koboko Municipality. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to give us some insights into the performance of our pupils in 2020 PLE. What are the things that you observed? What are some of the challenges and how can we surmount them? Mr. Dimba, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yakani Charles, for hosting us in this webinar. And we are grateful to be part of the presentation for the day. I hope you're getting me.
Very
Hello?
clear. You're very, very clear now.
Thank you very much. Even the theme for this particular webinar, that is education, being one of the key pillars in human capital development for any given country. And the quality of human resource of any country depends totally on the quality of education of that particular country. And for Koboko in particular, we are trying our best looking at the circumstances we are going through, in learning environments, and so many other factors. We want to say we are trying our best. And of course, why I believe education has been taken as a pillar is because it is one of the entities that produces the human resource that will support the communities, that will support the district, that will support this country when it comes to issues of the human resource. For us, as the Koboko Municipal Council, when we were given the municipality in 2016, I was the only staff in the office. And when I came to the office, I asked a question to myself because I never had any staff to support me. I was asking when the results for 2015 and then 2016 were produced, I saw our performance was very, very poor. I was not happy. And then I asked a question that, because as a municipality, one of the nearest municipalities we would compete with and try to share information and so on was the Arua municipality. Arua municipality did better than almost all the municipalities in West Nile. So when I asked that question, how can we beat a municipality in academic performance one day in our region? We held a series of meetings with the stakeholders, including our head teachers. At the end of the day, we were able to come with answers to that question, where we were able to struggle to set targets for all our schools to ensure that one day we should be able to get at least up to around 100 to begin with, 100 first grades. That plan was able to help us hit up to around 80-something first grades that year as a municipality. I think that was a good achievement. Now, I want to come to 2020 performance. Koboko Municipal Council was able to register a total number of 1,683 candidates for 2020 primary living examinations. Out of these candidates, we realized that about 837 children, not about 837 children, that is 49.7% were children from UPE, that's the government schools. And then 846 children, that is around 50.3%, were from the private schools, giving us that total of 1,683. Of these registered candidates, we had 840 boys and 843 girls. And the girls constituted 50.1%, while the boys constituted around 49.9%. That is the registered number of candidates for the year. Now, when we sat for the PLE, I want to register that the PLE was successfully conducted during that year amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. the centers were able to have all the SOPs observed. And we also realized that we had no cases of malpractice. That is one of our strongest points in the municipality, that we are very strict when it comes to standards of examination monitoring. We ensured that there was nothing like malpractice in our centers. That was a very big achievement that we recorded. So out of these children, we were able to register 91 candidates in first grade. These are boys, and then 21 girls in first grade, giving us a total of 112 first grades out of the total number given. And then we were able to register out of the 1,683, 1,005 candidates were in second grade. 1,005 were in second grade. That is 531 boys and then 474 girls. When we come to the number of third grades, we were able to register a total of 331 in third grade. That is 131 boys and 200 girls. Coming to fourth grade, we had 61 boys and 89 girls, giving a total of 150 children in fourth grade. Those who failed totally, they called ungraded, total to 73 of the 1,683 candidates. Out of these 73, 20 were boys and 53 were girls. And out of all those, 12 candidates did not sit out of the registered. So that has been the performance that we were able to record in 2020. But when we compare this to 2019, in 2019, we were able to get 108 first grades. Then we had 984 second grades. Of course, that if we look at the 108, that is like 6%. And the 984, that was 56% for 2019. Third grade, we had 383, giving us about 22%, that is for 2019. Division 4 was 194, that is 11%. Division U was 78, and that is 4%, while Division X totaled to 22. That means we were able to reduce the number of children who are unable to sit. Now, when we compare the performance for this year, there has been some slight improvement, which is around by about 86. Sorry, not 86. The 86 was a decline in terms of registration from comparing 2020 to 2019. But we registered some small improvement. If you look at the 112, if you remove about 108, we have about 6 children. That was any increment compared from last year and this year. Now, the further analysis goes on like this. Out of the 1,683 candidates registered, that is about 99.3% were able to sit for the examinations, while 12 candidates did not sit, that is 0.7% who did not sit the examinations. Now, the difference between this year and last year is 6.7% increment. I think that is that we call it a very good, somehow good improvement compared to what had happened also the previous year. Now, the number of those candidates who passed in Division 2 increased from 986, which is 56% in 2019, to 1,005, that is 59.7%. The previous one was 56, and this one is 59.7% in 2020. While the number of third grades decreased from 383, which is 22% in 2019, to 331, that is 19.7%. There has been a drop when it comes to the number of third grades. In addition, the failure rate has shown a small decline, that is 4.4%, which is 78.4% in 2019 to 73, which is 4.3% in 2020. So generally, the performance in terms of candidates who passed in Division 1 to Division 4 has improved from 1,669, that is 94% in 2019, to 1,593, that is 95% in 2020. I think that has been some small improvement in terms of performance. And when we analyzed the best performing, the best student or the best learner for 2020, he was able to get aggregate 6. That is the best in the entire municipality. That's a male candidate called John Lake, found in one of our schools, that is Eden Primary School, who was able to English 1, Science 1, SS 2, and Mathematics 2, giving us an aggregate of 6. So Cyrus from Mombachi Self-Help Primary School was the second best boy with aggregate 7. That's from a government school. He was able to get English 2, Science 2, SST 2, and Mathematics 1, giving us aggregate 7. There were 9 male candidates who scored aggregate 8. The best girls got aggregate 8. That is 2 in English, 2 in Science, 2 in SST, and 2 in Mathematics. These girls were Atem Agot from Ombachi Self-Help Primary, a government school, Bezimata Anita, and Cynthia Bakita, all from Irijaku Primary School. These were the best girls. As noted, when we analyze the performance by subject, the best performed subject for 2020 is SST. SST was well performed. If we look at the scores in SST, I think we're able to get cumulatively, if we take first and second grades, we have about 258 candidates who are able to get SST in distinctions, distinction 1 and 2. The second best performed subject is Science. In Science, if we look at the cumulative of getting the first and second grades, we were able to raise 115 candidates that performed well in Science. Then English was fair, that is around 68. And then the last performed subject was Mathematics in the analysis. So if we look at this, we can clearly see some of our challenges in terms of the performance by subjects. And that is what we have department, that we have already seen some gaps in some of those areas. When we shall continue moving down, we shall realize that the number of second grades that we got was so huge that if effort was put to push them to first grade, then we would have done so well. So that is one area that we have noted of interest. Another area of interest is that we are moving from increasing the number of failures. We are trying to reduce the number of failures, pushing them at least to fourth grade as we continue moving until one day we shall be able to achieve something in that area. Now, subject by grade distinction. In 2020, we were able to register only 4 distinction D1s. And then we were able to register 359 distinction 2s. We were able to register 711 credit 3s, 1,143 credit 4s, 1,277 credit 5s, 1,300 credit 6, 793 pass 7, and 614 pass 8. And then the number of failures was reduced to 459 compared to 2019, which was 521. And when you look at the number of distinctions in 2019, we had also 4 candidates who were able to get D1. That's still a challenge we have noted. And we have 285 distinction 2s, that is in 2019. In credit 3, we had 622, that is in 2019 compared to 2020. We have 1,124 credit 4, 1,444 credit 5, 1,430 credit 6, 795 pass 7, and 754 pass 8 in 2019. This analysis has shown to us that most of our children are congested between credit 5, actually credit 4, credit 5, and credit 6. The bulk of our children are packed in those credits. That is also an area of concern that we have noted, that something has got to be done in that regard. We also would want to look at the number of candidates registered, the children with disabilities for 2020. We registered 12 candidates with a disability, 8 boys and 4 girls. Out of these children with disabilities, the 12, at least we were able to register 2 candidates in first grade. These are boys. And then the rest were in second, third, spread up to the last grade. That is when we look at the category of learners. We want to look at the performance of the schools. We registered out of the 14 centers we had in the municipality, 16 schools were able to give first grades, because some schools never had their own centers, they registered under other school centers. We were able to have first grades from 16 schools. That is in terms of the performance by schools. We were able to find out that about 8 schools in the municipality did not give any single first grade. That has been a challenge we have noted. We are saying out of the 16 schools that gave first grades, we had about 6 schools that did not. 8 schools did not give first grade. That is again any issue of concern that we have noted. The question is, if others can, why not you? Those are issues we also noted during our analysis of the results. Now, when we look at the performance between the government schools and the non-government or private schools, we realize that in 2019, the government schools were able to give 25 first grades. In 2020, we were able to register only 15 in first grade from the government schools. And in 2019, the private schools were able to give 83 first grades, and then the government schools were able to give, the private schools in 2020 were able to give 97 first grades. That means that is a 14% decline in performance by the government schools, whereas in the private schools, they improved by 16.9%. And if sum all this, you realize that Koboko Municipal primary schools was rated in mostly in terms of the private schools. The government schools didn't perform well compared to the private schools. I want to look at some important analysis here when it comes to the performance in terms of candidates and second grades. That is where I was trying to emphasize that we need to do a lot in order to push a number of our children from second grade to first grade. I just want to cite one example. Teremunga registered 162 candidates. Of these candidates, 139 of these candidates were in second grade, giving a percentage score of about 86%, children in second grade. I want to cite Nyarilo Primary School. I'm just sampling because time may not be on our side. Nyarilo Primary School.
You actually have 5 minutes.
Oh.
Yes.
Nyarilo has 125 candidates registered, 89 was in second grade. If you look at this analysis, we are not doing badly off. We are very close to hitting our targets that we have set by the teachers from 2016 up to 2025, we'll be able to achieve that. I want to look at scores by division. That is very important for us to know which division within the municipality seem to be doing very well. We have realized that out of the performance of our divisions, West Division performed better than all the other divisions in the municipality. They gave a total of 24 first grades out of 294 registered candidates in West Division, while South Division gave 35 first grades out of 464 candidates registered in the whole division. And then North Division was able to register a total of 53 first grades out of a total of 925. They registered only 53 first grades. So the best division in this analysis was West Division, where Mr. Yakan Charles comes from. And then South was second, and then North Division this year has been the last division. What challenges did we realize as a department that could have contributed to some of this performance? One, we identified the issues of capacity gaps in terms of training. We realized that our teachers did not perform so well because they lacked skills in curriculum interpretation. That is one key item that we discovered. We carried out what we call training needs assessment. When we collected the data, we realized that most of the teachers complained and lacked skills in curriculum interpretation because every year things are changing in the within our education system, especially in the curriculum. Then we also discovered leadership gaps in our schools. Our head teachers and the school management committees need a lot of capacity building in relation to their roles and responsibilities. Number three, we have realized that there is a low participation of parents in school activities. Parents do not support the education of their children, especially when it comes to issues of financing education, issues of feeding children at school, issues of giving instructional materials has been a big challenge that many parents do not support their children. You will find in a class, some children may not be able to write just because the child does not have a pen for writing. The child does not have even a pencil for the lower classes. And these are issues that are supposed to be handled by the parents. So we noted some of these issues. They appear very small, but they contribute a lot when it comes to performance. Then laxity by teachers in terms of internal supervision. The headmaster is the immediate supervisor of the teachers in the school. But we realize that when we go for our quarterly inspections and supervision into the schools, when we ask the head teacher to present a report of what he has done in terms of internal supervision, you find that many head teachers do not present any report in regard to that. Then we have also realized that being an urban center, we have some teachers who are part-timers. They part-time, they go and part-time in some of those private schools and so on. That also contributes a lot to that area of poor performance. Some schools do not have teachers' quarters. And one good of these schools that we know is Ogo Primary School. Ogo has a very big challenge when it comes to teachers' quarters. We have noted that with the concern, the department is doing something possible to see that probably by next year we should be able to do something into that regard. We also realized the issue of ICT, information and communication technology has been a challenge. That's why even when I was logging in, I was trying to fidget here and there because of minor things. And that has been a very big problem. Whereas other districts, other schools elsewhere were teaching their children online, we realized that most of our children were staying at home because there was no way that they can be helped in this line. So that has been a very big challenge during the lockdown. These have been some of the major challenges that we identified as a department that we thought could have contributed to these poor results. The results are not yet good. But when we look at the general standards, achieved the government set standard of getting 90 passes. We have achieved that. We have even gone beyond that. We got about 96% of children who are passed. That means you are not badly off. But what annoyed me so much was, whereas Koboko Municipal Council was a municipality in West Nile region, nationally, we were rated to be the worst, the 10th municipality in terms of poor performance. That issue has angered me so much that I am not sleeping. I am all the time thinking, planning together with my staff and my head teachers to see that we get out of that list. It was very ashamed. Among the 10 worst performing municipalities, Koboko Municipal was the last. Whereas in West Nile, Koboko Municipal was rated the best. Why? We now want to compete nationally. That means within the region, we're not badly off, but nationally, we're doing badly. We acknowledge that report, and it has annoyed us to make us work very hard. And we're calling upon all stakeholders, as said earlier on, we must put our heads together to see that we support education and then improve on these results so that the quality of human resource we shall have for this district, for the municipality, will be of other international standards, unlike the national ones. I think that is our major request and appeal to all the listeners. Otherwise, I'm very grateful. We would have given you a lot of what we have analyzed, but because of time, I think these key areas are of importance. I know it will be able to give us a challenge that we need to do something. What must we do after here? I think that's the question we should go with. Thank you very much for listening.
All right. Well, great. I think we can give you an applause for a passionate presentation, which is very clear, backed with data. It's very important. Statisticians and planners want to work with figures, with numbers. So you have given us numbers. Patricia is there, a numbers person. She will probably look at the numbers further as the questions come in. So thank you very much, Mr. David Dimba, the Municipal Education Officer. There are questions which will definitely come. Already one person has asked that you have said you are annoyed. Very good. Thank you very much for being annoyed. And you have said you're going to work very hard. So what does working hard entail? This one will come later on in the discussion. Before I invite our next presenter, I think we have our guest. I have been reliably informed that our guest, Dr. Edith, may be having another meeting shortly. So I would like to just disorganize our flow a bit in a good way to get some insights from Dr. Edith, how they are doing things with Busoga Education, because she's the one, the technical person, the technical chairperson heading that. I want us to get the insights from there before she goes. She may drop out, and yet we have a lot of time. We have another 1 hour to go, so we would like her to just share some insights so that if she needs to leave, at least we would have gleaned some knowledge from her. So Dr. Edith, I would like to invite you. You've had part of Koboko. We have two Kobokos. There's a Koboko municipality and then the Koboko district. The DEO is also around. He will be giving the overview of Koboko district later on, but I would like to just give this chance to Dr. Edith to share some insights in maybe 10 minutes. Dr. Edith, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
All right, over to you.
I am there. Thank you so much, our host tonight. I would like to thank the members of Koboko, Koboko Development Agency. We heard from the chairperson, Mr. Robert Kajobe, and we've also heard from the Koboko Municipal Council Education Officer, Mr. David Kenyi. We thank you so much, and we thank you as members of Koboko Development Agency. We'd like to thank you also for inviting us to be part of your discussion. Like introduced earlier already, I'm Edith Vasalira. I'm a senior lecturer at Makerere University Business School, but at the same time, I'm a member of the board of Busoga Education Initiative, and I chair the technical committee of Busoga Education Initiative. Our facilitator tonight, as I notified you earlier, we are privileged to have the chairperson of Busoga Education Initiative logged on here. She's Ambassador Agnes Kalibala. She's my chairperson of Busoga Education Initiative, where I work as a board member. At a later stage, I think I'll be inviting my chairperson to share a word with you in the few minutes that you.
Yes, that is okay.
Ambassador Agnes Kalibala, you want to say something? Greet the members? Okay, maybe at a later stage, she'll be able to talk, to be able to talk and share with you, but I'll go ahead. We are Busoga Education Initiative, and as a Busoga Education Initiative, what is the Busoga Education Initiative? I think the preliminary arrangement started in 2017, and it was launched in 2018. Maybe the question would be, Ambassador, you want to say something? I can see you are. Oh, she's again muted. We started in preliminaries in 2017.
Edith, I was having a problem on logging on, but now I think I can talk. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Clear. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to thank you very much for inviting me. As already introduced, I'm the chairperson of Busoga Education Initiative, which has been in existence since 2018. Edith is a very active member of Busoga Education Initiative, and she's our technical chair, so she knows a lot about what is happening in our initiative. And therefore, since she has been already introduced, I will not say much. I will leave her to say a bit more in details about what we have in Busoga. But what is most important for us is that we came together because we realized that Busoga was performing.
Ambassador Agnes, we are losing you.
There was children, students in the whole country, yet we have people like Edith, who is a PhD. We have people like myself, who is an ambassador. We have people like Professor Walunywa, who are all kinds of, qualifications. So we said, no, let's get out of this and work ourselves to see that we get out of this. So that is where we are. We are still performing badly, but at least there has been some improvement ever since we started in 2018. We are not the worst now, but we still believe there is a lot more to be done, because during COVID, for example, our PLO students retarded a little bit because of what happened to everybody. Many of
Right, Ambassador, we are not
our
hearing
children
you.
dropped out and they became pregnant. We are hurt, but still we were not the worst. So we lived and we exchange ideas of what we do, the activities that we do in the field, so that we all work together to ensure that we make our children become better performers. I want to stop there and request Edith to continue with that.
All right, thank you. Edith, can you continue? Thank you for that brief, Ambassador.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much, Ambassador, for giving us the opening remarks concerning Busoga Education Initiative. Members, I'll continue to share with you about the Busoga Education Initiative. Like Ambassador has indicated, the improvement, there has been improvement in the performance. However, when we started the Busoga Education Initiative, in the results of PLE in 2017, Busoga was the worst in the performance of PLE of 2017. So Busoga Education Initiative is a brainchild of the Honorable Rose Seninde, the former Minister of State for Education at that time, who noted the poor performance in Busoga and the poor performance in Eastern region in the results baseline of 2017, and tried to talk to some of the people from Busoga to find out why is the performance so poor in that area. So we relate this as a brainchild of Honorable Seninde, because she's the one who called us to discuss with us. A few people came together and discussed with the Honorable Minister concerning that performance. In 2017, Busoga came out as the worst performer at that time. And to make things worse, if you would get statistics of Eastern region, Eastern Uganda region, and you pull out the performance of Busoga region, Eastern region would raise a bit generally in performance. But if you return the statistics of Busoga's performance, then Eastern region would be the worst in performance. So this indicated that there was poor performance in Busoga. So we had to get on to act after being called upon by the Honorable Minister. And we had to start the Busoga Education Initiative, which was launched in 2018, like the chairperson has indicated. It was launched mainly to improve the quality of education in Busoga. We needed to start from somewhere. So we decided to use the results of PLE of 2017. And in Busoga, we have 11 districts that make up Busoga. So we said we should start somewhere. Of course, the situation was bad everywhere, but we had to start somewhere. So we picked on the worst 2 performing schools in each district. Based on the results of 2017, the worst 2 performing schools in each district. So since we have 11 districts, we picked on 22 schools, which we used as our pilot project. The 22 schools 2 were picked from each district, and this was our pilot project. We said we should start with the 2 worst schools in each district. So when we talk of Busoga Education Initiative, we are working with those 2 schools in each district. What did we do? What did we discover? We had to do a needs assessment. We started with a needs assessment in 2018, and the needs assessment indicated to us various areas that were contributing to the poor performance in Busoga. The poor performance in Busoga, among others, surprisingly, some of the challenges are what the district municipal education officer raised, among which in Busoga we have poor studying environment, where there are no, in these schools, we realize there are no buildings, the buildings are not enough, the classrooms are not enough, the poor sanitary conditions in the schools, poor water and sanitary conditions in schools. Other challenges included poor feeding programs, inadequate feeding programs, where children, the learners would go and stay at school the whole day without any meals. Parents are not cooperative. They are not participating in financing or feeding the children. We also realized lack of teachers' houses as another problem, lack of teachers' houses. We also noted preoccupation of child labor, which was affecting education. Many children would go for fishing, and others would participate in cutting sugar canes. The parents were not caring. These were some of the problems. Other problems include teenage pregnancy and early marriages, where the girl child was involved in teenage pregnancy and early marriages, among other problems. So since we have limited time, I will not go through all the problems, but these were some of the problems. But we started with the needs assessment, and needs assessment indicated that. So we had to get together and form a board, which board is spearheading the activities of Busoga Education Initiative. Among the activities that we've come up with is we are working closely with the Ministry of Education. Ministry of Education work hand in hand with the Ministry of Education, and most especially the Basic Education Department, where so far we've organized a retooling conference. We retooled in the 22 schools. We had to retool the teachers. We organized the conference, and in that retooling conference, one was organized in 2018, and another retooling conference we did in 2019. The retooling conference, we work education basically to train the teachers and be able to improve their skills. In general, we do retooling and we improve them. We see that this has improved the performance of the teachers and head teachers. We invited in the different from all the districts in Busoga. The teachers, relationship between the teachers and the parents, and relationship between the learners and the teachers. In the conference, we targeted trying to improve this relationship. What else have we done? We have also partnered with some partners through the Ministry of Education. We were able to be linked up with some partners who are helping, development partners, who are helping to handle some activities in some of the 22 schools. We have development partners like Plan International, like World Vision. These Teach Uganda. These work hand in hand with us as a Busoga Education Initiative to try and sort out and solve some of the challenges in these schools. We have also been able to work as a team to keep monitoring the 22 schools. We keep monitoring the 22 schools to establish their performance, so that we've been able to see that there is improvement. The results of 2019 and results of 2018 were better than the results of 2017. Remember, in 2017, Busoga region was the worst performer, but the results of 2019, 2018, and 2020 have realized an improvement because Busoga region is no longer the worst performer. There is great improvement among the schools that we've picked on. We are hopeful that we will be able to improve tremendously as we continue performing, and we are very hopeful that most of the schools will get on board. We started with the worst performing schools because we had to start from somewhere. But these are our pilot project. And because we've seen that there is good performance, we will continue bringing other schools on board to be able to improve them, especially if there is of resources, because we can't is more about Busoga Education Initiative, sons and daughters, and well wishers of Busoga and Wilukoga to be able to improve what we do in Busoga. It is, like I've noted, the governance is such that it is a non-profit organization. It's made up of volunteers who come together to improve the operations of the Busoga Education Initiative. We came up with a strategic plan of 5 years plan, 2020-2024. The vision of Busoga Education Initiative is that all children in the Busoga sub-region are empowered by improving the quality of education. And we have a mission. The mission of Busoga Education Initiative is to strategize and leverage partnership to uplift the quality of education in the Busoga sub-region. Problem statement is very poor quality education that has become all-encompassing in the Busoga sub-region, especially during the last 5 years. But so far, ever since the Busoga Education Initiative was launched, we've been able to see positive results and we are improving. The other issue is that the funding, part of the funding, how do we get funding? I've already indicated that our biggest challenge is funding. How do we get the funding? We have a membership fee of 50,000. All members of the initiative, each one pays 50,000 as membership fee. But in addition, we also have an annual subscription fee of 100,000, where members pay this per year. We also do some fundraising dinners and selling of certificates, which help us to bring in some resources. Then we also get support from development partners, especially for the tutoring workshop. Like I've indicated already, the funding is not so good, so we've not done much, but so far what I've indicated, what we've done, the tutoring conference, the monitoring of performance, and the visiting of the schools to talk to the communities in the areas, to talk to the parents in the areas, these have somehow improved. We've also been able to give scholastic materials to the candidates in the 22 schools since 2018, 2019, 2020. We've been able to buy scholastic materials like sets, pens, and pencils. We realized that among the challenges the children were having, they were not having enough scholastic materials. You would find that students, the learners, when they're doing exams, they don't have enough pens. They keep sharing pens in those schools. So we do simple things like buying pens, pencils, mathematical sets for them to ensure that somehow they are able to write their exams up to the end. These were simple things that were disturbing the children and they were performing poorly. In addition to that, we also organize stakeholder meetings because we realized that we need to involve stakeholders to be able to improve the performance. So Busoga Education Initiative organizes stakeholders meetings with the communities, the parents, the religious leaders, the community leaders, the district education officers, the district inspectors of schools, and other people from the communities. We come together to discuss these challenges and be able to improve the performance of the schools. In summary, we've noted that the 22 schools we started with, there is great improvement, although many other things have not been tackled. We are hopeful that as we move forward and as we get more development partners, I think we'll be able to improve on the performance. So we try to write development proposals concerning construction of these schools, because one of the biggest problems, like I noted earlier, it was lack of classrooms. They don't have enough classrooms and enough scholastic materials. So we try to write proposals and forward to some funders. We've not yet been very successful in this, but we are still struggling and the struggle continues. We are still moving on to try and look out for more development partners who will come on board to try and help us in the way we improve. In summary, I think this is what we've done so far as Busoga Education Initiative, but we need to continue mobilizing members to join the initiative because most of our funding comes from the membership fee and the annual subscription fee, plus the dinners, which we organize yearly. Although last year we were not able to organize because of the COVID-19 issues. So we are lagging behind because of COVID-19 issues. And even we've not been able to work on the progress of our action plan of the strategic plan because we've been affected by the COVID issues. But we are hopeful that this will soon be overtaken by events and we'll be able to progress. In summary, that's what I wanted to share with you. I don't know whether Ambassador Kalibala wants to add some issues I could have left out. Ambassador Kalibala, before we finish, do you want to add on something more?
No, Dr. Basarira, you've covered everything very well. And I want you to thank you very much. Issues of Busoga Education Initiative that it would be good for other regions also to emulate what we are doing, so that at one moment in time and then we start looking at children to improve.
Okay, thank you so much, Ambassador Kalibala, our dear host and members of Koboko Development Agency. This is what we wanted to share with you, but we are happy that you invited us. Thank you so much for inviting us, and we look forward to continue. We look forward to continue working with you and sharing more discussions as you progress to improve the performance of education. Our main cause is improving education, the quality of education in Busoga. We started with the primary schools. We want to move slowly to the secondary schools and then later to higher levels, but we have to start from somewhere. That is what we've covered so far. Thank you very much for giving us this time.
Right. Thank you very much.
Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Basalirwa, for those insights into Busoga education I need to get it right. Title. Yeah. Busoga Education Initiative. Yes. Thank you so much for
Yes.
sharing those ideas with us.
Thank you.
I
It is
have
Busoga
picked
Education Initiative.
Education Initiative. Yes. I have picked a
in
number
short.
of things. Yes. A
Yes,
number
yes.
of things that you have done. You went for the worst schools. That was good to see whether you can push them forward. You have worked with the ministry, especially basic education department. You have worked with development partners. That is very nice. I've seen Plan International doing some work actually in Kapuli. They have put up a building, a youth center. So that one is that you have learn from you in that direction. Professor Kajobe, could you please mute? Professor Kajobe. Yes, thank you. Right. We will pack the questions. I think members will have a discussion later. I'll ask you to just pack your questions so that when we get to the plenary, we'll then go through all the questions. I would like to then move on to request our district education officer, Mr. Dagamay, to just give us also an overview. The municipal education officer has touched a number of things already. I'm sure you had. So just plug in the ones which he didn't cover, and we are more interested in the challenges and how you would like us to work together to address the things that you have observed. We as the board of KDA, we're excited to see some first grades coming from very remote schools, deep down. Near in Kaya, we saw some first grades. We saw some first grade, I think, in a school in Busia. We've seen a school in Ludara deep there, bringing in very good first grade. So what are the things that those schools have done well, Mr. Dagamlai, and how can this be replicated in the other schools? I am interested in hearing, particularly because those are the majority of the government schools are the ones in the outer, in the district. Municipal seems to have very many of the private schools. So what is it that the government schools are not doing right? And what is it that those few are doing correct to have given us some of those very good results coming from those remote schools like Lima? Mr. Dagamlai, over to you. I think the the district education officer is using Techno Common 17, right?
I believe you're getting me.
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, thank you.
Zoom meeting. Zoom meeting.
My name
I think, Mr. Y, Mr. Y, if the network is bad, what I ask you to do is to switch off the video so you can use audio only, because your network seems to be very bad.
As you mentioned, I'm using Common 17. I have logged from a phone, and I came later. I apologize for that.
Okay, Mr. Y, if you can hear me, I would like you to your network is bad. So what you should do is use only the microphone, just switch off the video. It will improve your audio. At the moment, the audio is very bad. It's like you're walking in slow motion. Okay. Yeah, just use the audio. Oh, okay. I think we've lost him. Mr. Dagamlai has gone off. I'm hoping that he's getting back online. Okay, as he tries to get back online, maybe Dr. Ine, I would like you to just tickle our minds and discuss very briefly from what Mr. Dimba has talked. Just give us a 2-3 minutes of discussion on what Mr. Dimba has said. Tease out the questions, the things that you think we need to think about deeply, and what we need to do from what Mr. Dimba has said, and also from what Edith has shared, the learning points. Dr. Aine is our Vice Chairman for Koboko Development Agency. He is also a PhD, and he works with the National Council for Higher Education. So yes, Dr. Aine, as we wait for our DEO.
Right now,
oh, DEO is back. Okay. All right, Dr. Aine, just hold.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I am sorry that I joined late. Let me present something very small for today's actually. Koboko district looked some changes in performance, where if you keep on checking from 2019, we had 65 learners in first grade. And 2020, we had 47. But if you look at the performance in terms of percentage, in 2019, we had 4.3%, and in 2020, we had 2.8%. That is a decline. But if you moved in terms of the percentage of those learners who would pass, the pass rate of 2019 is 91.4%, and for 2020 is 91.6. 91.6. That means we had a slight increment of the number of learners who had passed and have qualified to go to the next level. If you compare this performance, which are given in terms of private and government schools, in 2019, 51 passed in first grade from the private private school, and 14 from the government school, giving us the total of 65. That means in 2019, private schools have performed better than the government aided. And if you also continue in 2020, private schools from 51, it came to 26. From 51, you've seen it came to 26, while the government schools from 14, it went to 21. And that means we had a total of the 47. In 2020, there was a decline in the private schools' performance, while the government-aided primary schools performed better. If you look at this performance in terms of sub-counties, you will see it very well that Ludara sub-county had 7 in first grade, and the 5 came from Lima. One from Madikin. Madikin is a school which had just performed for the first time from the time it was government grant aided in 2012. So giving first grade for the first time like that, that means that is a bravo for that school. If you looked at the Abuku sub-county, Abuku Nyoricheku Primary School, for 19 years, it has never given a first grade. For 19 years, but this time it has given 1. And Abuku for the last 5 years, no first grade. Abuku sub-county, last 5 years, no first grade. So if you total the 7 from Ludara and the 1 from Abuku, that means Koboko North County had 8 in first grade. Had 8 in first grade. The other first grades come from Koboko County, 40. From the 47, the 39 are from Koboko County. 39 from Koboko County. With only 1 sub-county without first grade, that is the Dranya sub-county. And makes us feel very, very bad. We are trying to see here and there to look for some changes in the leadership and the teaching staff in the sub-counties of Danya, train SMCs to have a change. That is what we're seeing because that sub-county is not performing for the last 3 years, no first grade, and we're not happy while we're responding with the very many actually things to those schools. And why are some of these schools performing very better? Like Lima Primary School, why is it performing very, very, very well? Lima sub-county is doing very well just because of the leader. This is an experienced head teacher who has all the zeal. He has command of his teachers. And in the process, he guides the teachers, he directs them on what is supposed to be done. Also, the people who hail from Ludara sub-county, who are working outside, like those of Mangasa, yeah? Those of Mangasa and the team, they always move to help the whole of Ludara sub-county. But Lima has taken it very well, very positive. They bring examiners from the center. And when they bring these examiners from the center, these examiners meet with the teachers of Lima. We go for those meetings and we cascade these meetings to these other sub-counties, but the take-up is still low. While Lima in Ludara has taken it very positively, they have several examinations where the learners sit and the learners don't fear no examinations since they sit every time. If you looked at Loble sub-county, the team of the people who hail from Loble and the outside, they are really supporting the sub-county. Dranya is doing the same. Kuluba is doing the same. The response is still very low. The response is still very, very low. But we feel most of the analysis have been done with the Municipal Education Officer. I remember the first meeting has done analysis, but I want to thank the following. There is the FinChurch Aid, UNICEF, and UNICEF. They came in to help the schools that are poor. Schools like in Loble sub-county where it has started giving a first grade. FCA has entered there in. They do a lot of software for the teachers. And even World Food came in to promote school feeding in those schools. UNICEF goes the element of training the teachers on how to handle the pedagogy of teaching in the classroom, which is supposed to be learner-friendly. And they also give in examinations to these learners, but some of the schools have not taken it very well. I want to thank Save the Children. I want to thank Tazimondi Foundation and the family of Isaac Lumago. The family of Isaac Lumago. I think Aite is connected. Aite has really done the needful to give us a support in Irijaku Primary School. And this support is with very many associated materials given to the school. I was there at that meeting where they brought things, and I believe that one has to cause a change in that school. Save the Children gives pads to the learners, and this reduces absenteeism. Typical one is in Madikin Primary School. Girls from Madikin Primary School, when they are on period, they don't come to class. But when Tazimondi Foundation came in, those of Alemi, the brother of Alege Bosco, Then with the family of Nonopele in Arua, they really helped, and that has reduced absenteeism, and then that's the end result is you see first grade from that school. So, and we believe that there's going to be a change coming in to most of these schools. The recommendation I want to give, because analysis had been done, I had done my analysis before in the first meeting. I want to give my recommendation where if we buy it, we go to the process of helping these schools in Koboko to cause a change. One of the recommendations I want to reckon on is the issue of promotion of school feeding. We can promote school feeding just through sensitization. When we come back here to Koboko, you go to the village and you get the parents or maybe your brothers or your relatives, whatever. Please talk to them, encourage them to feed their children. Parent-led, it is parent-led. I remember in a Pamodo Primary School, the parents embrace school feeding. The children, when you used to go there during break time, you cannot get the children because they run home for breakfast, and lunchtime you don't get them. But if you go to Pamodo right now, during school time, you get very many learners on the compound. At lunchtime, they're also there. During break time, they are there. A typical example is a girl of P2 who used to come to school at around 9 something. And she testified to me that from the time school feeding was started, she leaves home at 7:30. She carries a plate. The books are brought by the what? By the elder sisters. That shows that the schools becomes attractive. Okay? Schools becomes attractive if you promote in the issue of the school feeding. The issue also I wanted us to continue with support is the issue of instructional materials for teaching. Instructional materials for teaching. There are some charts, like in terms of the diagram of the human body, the skeleton, okay? The skeleton, the digestive system, a bookstore can buy and take to these other schools, which are lacking in order to cause a change to our schools. And then issues to deal with the instructional materials to the learners. Instructional materials, we should continue supporting them. You give them sets. Sets are so good. I took it for Birijaku Primary School, and the learners were very happy. The parents were all very happy. That is a way of encouraging learning. And that's what I think we have to continue on doing it. And there is the element of revival of the sub-county examination board. You remember those days back, you used to have LOSEB, Lobule Examination Board. We used to have media, sub-county examination board, Lodara sub-county examination board. But the one of Lodara has now started. With the leadership of Uzo Mangasa, it has started very creatively. And the one of some of the sub-counties, it is not going on well. So that is what I feel we should support in order to cause a change. Asante sana. Iete.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, DEO. You have managed, in spite of the network, to give us some key highlights and very important recommendations. Okay. I would like to applaud you for the partnerships you have created with UNICEF, UNHCR, Save the Children. I think that is what Dr. Edith also talked about. They created partnerships to help in some of the bigger areas that individuals may not help. Okay, Dr. Aine, very quickly, you will lead us into teasing our brains about now the recommendations from your observations. Bring out the hard questions, then we can go to discuss. Dr. Aine, are you there? Dr. Aine? Hello, Dr. Aine, are you there? Okay, Bosco, could you reach out to Dr. Aine, please? I don't know whether his network is not okay. Bosco, help me reach Dr. Aine so that we can just have 5 minutes of discussion, discussing these presentations from an educational perspective, and then we can open up the plenary for comments, for way forward. Recommendations have already been given. If you have another recommendation, time is there for us to do that. Dr. Aine, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, my connectivity was a bit poor, but
Okay.
now I am here. I hope I'm loud and clear.
Yes, now I can hear you. We can hear you.
I want to thank the presenters for putting it a very good show. You can see that clearly there's a lot for us to learn from those who have done it somewhere else. And I want to thank the Busoga team for putting up also something very tremendous. And I think as KDA, there is a lot that we can learn from that. Colleagues, when you do comparisons, we shouldn't be comparing ourselves with people who are not giants. When you do comparisons with other places, there is a story for us to learn. When you look at border districts, just pick up border districts. When you look at Busia, when you look at Tororo, and you look at other border districts, you would see that they are performing better than our municipal, better than our district. What are they doing differently that we cannot be able to do? That's very important. And I think, like I've always said, the input process output outlay is the most fundamental thing that we have to take into account. And to me, the process is the most important variable. And therefore, when we talk of processes here, it has to do with first of all, the teachers themselves. Do we have sufficient teachers in our schools? And I think the municipal education office has already told us, yes, we have. Then the question comes to how prepared are our teachers? Do we have sufficient refresher training for our teachers to, put them to contemporary ideas today, as far as teaching and learning is concerned? Now, in other jurisdictions, the level of exposure of teachers to contemporary aspects today, to the requirements of the curriculum, to the requirements of examination is very different. And I think that's an area that we need to do a lot as Koboko. We have not had sufficient exposure of our teachers to different aspects of the curriculum. The teaching of the curriculum has significantly changed. You have to approach the
Dr. Aine, you have muted yourself. Okay.
Am I there?
Okay, now you're there. Yes.
Yes, the fundamental question that we as stakeholders need to ask ourselves is, what can we do? What can we do together to be able to promote the education levels, the decaying education levels? In much as we have registered some improvement, the improvement we have registered is not significant enough for us to call ourselves now a force within the education, when you look at the education landscape in the whole country. So clearly we need to do a lot, from materials, from availability of all the scholastic materials, from also attitudinal changes. Like we have said, our parents have developed a lukewarm approach towards school. What is the contribution of parents towards supporting their children in school? Unless we get the parents also on board, the teachers will do the little that they can be able to do. So to me, it's really a collective approach that we need to embrace. We need to get our parents on board. We need to get the teachers on board. We need to get the inspectorate on board, because without the inspectorate, it is going to raise significant challenges. So what we want to hear from the district is, to what extent have they strengthened the inspectorate department? To what extent are they supporting the teachers in as far as education is concerned? To what extent are we exposing our teachers and also our learners to the new contemporary approaches of handling questions, to the new contemporary approaches of teaching and learning? This to me is very, very fundamental. We as a district then we'll be putting an improvement here, and we celebrated improvement. Of course, an improvement of one first grader 2 first graders. That is not good enough. So we need really to get out of that and see what we can be able to do. Every effort in education comes with the monetary costs. We need to agree that we cannot be able to invest in education without money. Investment in education comes with a cost. And therefore, we need to change our thinking that we can be able to put money elsewhere, but not put money in the education of our own children. So I think that message you need to resonate down to the grassroots, down to the parents, so that they can be able to support us in this. And we hope that the politicians can take this message across. So really, Charles, from my perspective, that's what I can say, but my emphasis is always on the process. I don't blame the input, however bad a kid may be, whichever background the kid could have come from, the kid may not have a level of exposure, but when the kid comes to the school environment, it's now the role of the school. It's now the role of the teachers, and of course with support from the parents, to be able to transform this kid to a good output. That to me is always my position. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Aine. Yes, you have asked the pertinent questions. Now it's our turn. Many things have been said. I have taken record. So what do you think? You who are the members of KDA, I would like to challenge us now. What is our role? How do we work with the district? How do we work with the municipality in a concerted effort, not individual efforts now, but as bringing all these efforts together to ensure that we join forces to raise education attainments of the children in our district. Because the numbers that the municipal education officer gave, those who passed in first grade, the percentage was very, in second grade, the percentage was very high. If something can be done to push those second grades to first grade, I think the numbers would have significantly changed in first grade. So over to us. I also heard from Dr. Edith, something that we as KDA members now, we need to open our ears to, their subscription. I just want to pick those numbers. The subscription, there's an annual subscription of 100,000 as members of KDA. We can borrow a leaf from there. There's a membership of 50,000 and an annual subscription of 100,000. So those are good figures. Later on towards the end, I'll be sharing with you some of the things that the board had decided that we need to implement. If you, the General Assembly, agrees, I'll be sharing some figures with budgets where we need to start, and you will see that we need money. As Dr. Aine has also said, we need money. We need to put money on the table in order to get the desired outcomes. So if you like to contribute to the discussion, you can put up your hand so that we can now discuss. I have picked already two. I think this is from Isaac in the US. Isaac from the US, he has told us the idea of a refresher training is very good, highly recommended. PTAs, now I think they're called SMCs, School Management Committee for Primary, their SMCs must be strengthened so that they can address the issue of the food and the materials jointly. Totally noted. Thank you very much. Early child intervention from nursery to preschool, knowing now what COVID has done to our nursery schools. Let us see what happens. So three hands already up. I'll pick from Richard, and then Abakare. Galaxy Tab, I'm not sure who it is, but Galaxy Tab, your hand is also up. Right, Richard.
Yeah, I think first of all, I want to thank Dimba and Jagamlai, and of course Aine for giving us an insight on how this is all about. I'm not a specialist in education, but I think I have, from what I have heard, right from Dimba, I think what I see is that we, of course, can't make improvement unless we take ownership and get engaged. What I see, I think the continuous, reliance on government institutions to improve our education system is not going to happen. It requires us to deliberately be able to put our effort. from what Imba raised, actually, I see the two things that might be not within our control are things to do with infrastructure for teachers in schools and maybe ICT. But the rest are things that are within our jurisdiction to be able to improve. Whether it's the leadership question in school, those are people we know them. Whether it's about our parents, those are all things that are within our control. I think we need to take part of. But I think for me, in terms of the process, I'll leave the rest of the details. What I see is that how do we come in as under KDA to be able to support this? Number one is that I think we need to carry out an all-over assessment, and I think the education department might be having some tools that could be used because they are standards, and we need to be able to assess and see where then are the gaps and which schools could be our priority. If we use the PASOGA model, then start improving performance in the last maybe 2 schools from sub-county is where we start from. Then the second, once we have really done an assessment, done a SWOT analysis, we could be able to come up with a performance improvement strategy. And I think we could be able to get people within KDA and working with the people in the maybe municipal education department or the district education department to come up with a strategy that then we could be able to support. And I think that could be all inclusive, whether issues to do with fundraising, whether issues to do with engagement of development partners, whether issues to do with teachers and so on. Those all could be part of that strategy so that we don't work here and there, but we have a strategy that guides us over time. Now, I think once that is in place, the issue of fundraising is quite critical because it requires resources. And I think KDA was an institution that will set it up, and we are proud to say that we want education to be part of, is one of our key pillars. Then let's see, based on the strategy, come up with a fundraising strategy to support our strategy going forward. And I think that will help us to, for us all to be guided to be able to, to do something meaningful. I am happy with the anger that comes from the people that lead the education over the municipal and the district level. And of course, we are all angered. I see my own school where I was in primary many years ago, and my own performance from a rural school still cannot be challenged by pupils who sit in better constructed classroom blocks. And I think we should not fault the government for infrastructure. The problem now is with us, because when you go to I go to my former school, they're better infrastructure. As a family, we even tried to put a solar system in that school. But nothing is, people are not even using the solar system. Nothing has changed since the installation of the solar. Nothing has changed. For the last, 5 or 6 years, we don't have a first grader in 2 calendar. It's shameful. So I think that's what I'll say, and I'll leave the rest of the details. But I think for us to be able to get this right, we need to have define what we want to do and then see how we can be able to support it going forward. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Data. Thank you for those comments and suggestions. Definitely take a note of, and we will factor that in within our strategic plan as KDA to move this forward. Yes, Abakari, where have you gone? Your hand was up. You are the second.
I'm around.
Okay. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, I joined late. I had an appointment with a colleague. So I'm in Addis. I traveled to Addis 2 days ago.
Okay.
I don't know if what I'm about to ask has not been raised. I have one concern about the medium of instruction in primary schools. Since the introduction of, I don't know, is it thematic curriculum, most of our pupils start learning English seriously from P4 or P3 or P4. From primary 1 up to primary 3, most of the lessons are done in local language, which is not bad, but the emphasis on English seems to be lower. So as a result, you realize that children struggle to pick up things from P4 to P7. If you go to our rural schools today, you will find that a child in P7 struggles to speak English. So they start to learn English actually, I would say, in secondary. So it makes it difficult for them to understand and I think interpret things. So I wanted to inquire if these two can move together, but then focus must be on English as a medium of instruction in schools. And then to use local languages as medium of instruction, then reaching from P4 onwards, the medium of instruction now becomes English. And then regarding the issue of the PTAs and the school management committees and school management, I think Lima, regardless, beside the efforts of the OBs and the well-wishers in Lodara, they are doing extremely well because of the stewardship of the school. As the Gamlai said, the school management, especially the head teacher, has a vision that is pursuing. So I would like to challenge the Gamlai and the team to ensure that school management committees and the PTAs and the school administration are strengthened. They need to ensure that these people meet regularly and then have agenda. I think my old school, I asked 2 weeks ago, whether we have a clear vision for the school, a mission statement for the school, objectives for the school, and these are the ideologies that when you are leading the school, you need to follow. It appears there is none. So you would wonder what is guiding these schools? Are they just there because they were established and they should move on? That means there's nothing pushing the management of the schools to ensure that they stand by the values of the school. So these are the few things that I wanted to bring up. Sorry, I may have repeated what someone may have raised before. Thank you.
No, there's again, you brought that very nice angle of medium of instruction. That one was actually not talked about. Maybe I'll ask Dagamlai later to comment on that, Dagamlai and Mr. Dimba, about the issue of the instruction from P1 up to P3, the thematic curriculum. Is it having any negative impacts from your assessment? You will answer that. Let me pick the last question in this set. Galaxy Tab A. Kindly introduce yourself properly, and then you can ask the question. Unmute, please.
Thank you so much, organizers, Yakani, our frontman. I'm very grateful. This is Mukulia John Bosco, a local boy from Koboko.
Thank you, Mukulia. Well,
it has been a while.
Good. Yes.
Since 2013, I left Koboko. I'm a bit out, moving in and out, in and out. I'm very much happy with this program. And most of the things which I had wanted to highlight and to put across, I'm happy that my 4 speakers have actually mentioned them. For example, the issue of inspection of schools, appraisal of learners, then strengthen the school management committee, and the issue, actually these are the 3 main issues. Let me just speak from my own experience, because I started from Anyakalio Primary School in Media Sub-County. I was a pupil of Anyakalio Primary School. And by then, I'm very grateful that our DO, current DO, Y Dagamulai, was my teacher long ago. And I'm happy that he is in this leadership of the education office. And what I will speak, I know he has hinted here, which is very important. Inspection of schools. At that time, when I was in the school, and by then Mr. Y Dagamulai was my teacher, school inspection was very good. The district inspector of schools was really doing the work. And when it is time for inspection of schools, I tell you, teachers were on the toes. Time was followed, academics classes were fully covered, and you see that the teachers are working. And that one, to tell you the truth, the performance was very good. Teachers were working, pupils were cooperating, and really everybody was on the front in education. Really, since Y is there in this leadership, I know he will have picked a leaf from there and he will work on something which is very important in this education sector in Koboko. And this will really improve their performance of the pupils in the primary schools. I'll talk more about the appraisal of the learners in the primary schools. Here I talk about especially the old students, as you have mentioned earlier on about those from Ludara, Mangasa, and group went to the primary schools and those ends, I will really encourage that we strengthen our old boys and old girls of the primary schools where we come from. These are the salt to the performance also. Myself, I received a lot of appraisals from my old boys and old schools who passed from Anyakale Primary School. They will organize with the school teaching staff to visit us, and they will provide for us, as you said, somebody went to Irijak Primary School and give us scholastic materials as encouragement. Secondly, they will also, for example, in primary, they will sponsor the best performing schools in each classes. They will tell the pupils and the teachers, the child that performs #1 in a class with this grade, we as the old boys are going to pay the school fees in the next class. We shall relieve the parent. I tell you, we worked, and myself, to tell you the truth, my parent was not somebody who is rich. Sometimes he could not raise the school fees, but through the effort appraisal from the old boys, I was able to work hard to get that sponsorship from the old boys to the next class. And this made us to perform to senior secondary school very well. Career guidance. These boys who have already passed, these girls who have passed from our primary schools, let them come as testimony to the pupils, to motivate them, to give them the zeal for learning. That conversation between the old students and the pupils is encouraging. It makes the students to have focus on life, what to do, and it motivates them. I think these appraisals, giving scholastic materials, career guidance, and sponsoring the best schools in the primary, in the schools alone, even without going to the secondary school, that one motivates them. I'm really appealing that we will catch with this. And myself, we are trying to go to Anyakale, though I'm very far, but we are still trying to mobilize our OBs there and OGs to help this, because as you see, I don't know when did Anyakale get its first grade. I'm not sure, but I will still go back and find out what is happening. As the predecessor has said, some schools have lost their vision, their mission, their objectives, and things are running just by the grace. Lastly, it's not a question, still the issue, I think the DO has talked about the examinations, frequent exposure of the students and teachers even to examinations, internal and external. We used to have examination board called COSHEC, Koboko County, something like that, examination board. Those examinations, they come monthly, and really they make students to fill the examination room, to get familiar with the exams. The school sets, the COSEB sets, sometimes even the school, the county organizers bring exams from Kampala to Koboko, and we sit. Lucky enough, sometimes it's the initiative of the school to organize. But myself, I found myself in such a way that as if a student is always, a pupil is always a good learner and he is aiming high, he will coordinate issues of learning by himself, as the school is also coordinating, as the district is coordinating. Myself, I used to sit examination from Terunga Primary School. I used to sit examination from Nyarlo Primary School. I used to sit examination from Kingaba Primary School, and I'm from Anyakale Primary School. I have friends from different schools. Whatever they sit there, they will set for me, they will set for me. Whatever they sit there, the student, my friend, will write and set for me. I will sit on. And that one gave me a higher chance of passing in the district, in media sub-county by that time. So what I will appeal is that examination board of like media county, sub-county, like Ilobule, those ones have to be strengthened to increase the performance. Thank you for at least getting this opportunity with you and the members. This is the little that I can contribute. I'm sorry I came late because of school programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mukulia. Right, great to hear that. And I think I've picked some key points from you, especially the issue of motivation from the OGs and OBs of the schools. If we can get them back to go and talk to the current students and pupils in their schools to be living testimonies of that they passed through those schools, and they are somebody now. You are somebody somewhere. I think that's very important. Let's do that. Yeah. Some questions and comments are coming in through the chat. Let me just pick one here. Yes, a question. I think Mr. Dimba, you take note of that, and Mr. Dagamlai, that what are the best hiring practices and processes in place for as far as teachers are concerned? How do you hire teachers, and also maybe how do you fire them? That's a question that Mr. Dagamlai and Dimba, I think you need to answer. There was something that intrigued me from what Mr. Dimba said, that part-timing was one of the problems in the municipal, that there were teachers who were teaching in the government schools, but they would also go and part-time in the private schools, which was a problem. Then my question would then be, how come if they're part-timing in the private school and in the municipal, the private schools did very well? So what's the issue here? Does it mean that in the private school there is a lot more focus and supervision, so the teacher who is in the government school is focused more in teaching in the private school than in the government school? What is the issue, and how can we come in here? So I think those are some of the things maybe let me ask Mr. Dimba and Mr. Dagamlai. You can respond in no particular order some of those questions raised.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Dagamlai, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to respond on the issue of inspection. As a district, we are supposed to have 2 inspectors, and we have only 1 inspector who is running all the schools. In the process of this inspector, that's the Rita Harriet, running all the 100 schools, she cops in the retired head teachers to help her to make sure the work is done. But the ministry policy is 1 inspector, 1 county. We have 2 counties, Koboko North and Koboko County. We are only entitled to 2 inspectors. Even if both of them will be there, still the inspection, which is supposed to be beginning and end, will not be in that order. See, they will still be continuing using the what? The associate assessors to help them in the process of what? Inspection. So there is still a gap in inspection. That's one of the things you needed to know. If we come to the process raised by Dr. Ine, I like that thing. I have always told teachers, when the parents bring their children to the school, it is the head teacher and the teachers who are supposed to handle. This is like someone who has taken somebody for treatment to treat that person. Has been telling teachers to live with their responsible mindset there, and it is creating some slight changes. That's why you started to perform, because the is in their hands. You know what you know mathematically? Hello, are you getting me? Teaching in teams, like our home.
Oh, the Kamlaya network.
Our village, sub-county. Are you getting me? Yes, Charles, are you getting me?
Okay, this is better now, but otherwise you are not clear. Sorry,
Are you getting me?
Not very clear.
Not very clear?
Okay,
now,
come again, try
maybe
again.
let me
That's better.
I am talking on the issue of thematic curriculum. I believe you are getting now.
Now that's better, yes, go ahead.
Oh. Yeah, thematic in teams. Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Teaching in themes, not local language. And therefore, we are trying to find that aspect where the society has interpreted that it is teaching in local language. The most important thing is the teaching from known to unknown. When the child can speak English slowly by slowly, you can begin in English slowly by slowly. You keep it by slowly. So the interpreter, that's not the meaning. What I want to put is the issue of the SMCs who are not trained. We have, by the way, we have Aga Khan and Labe in the district here that are training the SMCs on their role. We have an MOU has been signed. And so on. When you are going for the training, you get 12 people. But when it is coming for the real implementation of the work, it is only one person, the chairman, school management committee, who is doing the work, because the thing is voluntary. Some are not implementing.
Okay.
The issue of whether the objective in local primary school actually started from.
Sorry, Mr. Y, I think your network is not very good. You need to move to a place which has a bit of network, maybe. And we are not getting you, Mr. Y. Let me ask
You
Mr.
see,
Dimba.
the display teacher's office instead of displaying is what outside for the public to
Mr. Dagamlai, let Mr. Dimba and Rita help out here. Sorry.
Can you switch off your videos to see if it will perform the network, please? Try just to.
And it's Mr. Y's network that is a problem.
It will perform his line.
It's on his side. Okay. Let me get Mr. Dimba online. Mr. Dimba, if you have one or two comments also there to add. I think there was the DO was explaining about the thematic curriculum. I asked that purposely because I know that has been misinterpreted. The teaching in themes, people think that it is local language. So yes. Mr. Dimba, can you just throw some light here, and then we go to concluding remarks? It's already 6. I'm going to just, well, I would like us to be winding up now. David, are you there?
Mr. Charles.
Yes.
I have one pressing question. Why are most of the teachers in Koboko district acting? We have few teachers who are substantive teachers. Why?
Okay, so Mr. Dimba and Rita, are you there? Rita, could you come in? Yes, please, Bosco.
Dimba had rang me that power had gone off in his office, so there's no electricity.
He has moved. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Rita, are you there?
Yeah, I'm online. I've just joined in. I'm seeing questions and so on.
Okay. Did you pick some
and
of
I hope
them
my
where you
network
can have
is
an
somehow
insight?
fair.
Yeah, yours seems to be fair.
Mm-hmm. I saw something about is it SMCs, or he wants me to answer about why most head teachers are acting.
Yeah, start from there. I think SMC has been clarified, and then the thematic, the issue of thematic curriculum versus local language. Does teaching in local language affect the performance in P7? Yeah, you could answer that.
Okay, let me start from the teaching of local language. To me, maybe in the profession, I don't think teaching in local language affects our learners, because sometimes they'll have to learn from the local language and they get to the foreign language later, because it matches very easily. Most of us even were taught in local language before we went into accessing English, especially we got English in senior 3, I mean in P3. But the unfortunate part is that most of our people think when learners, our pupils are taught in the local language, they will not perform, they will not learn English, and they think by teaching them in English, that's the only way to improve or better performance. It's not true. It's all about commitment, because these things correlate. That's my understanding. Hello, am I there?
Yes, you are.
Uh-huh. Then on why most head teachers are acting, maybe Dio can tell us more, but to the best of my knowledge, is that there was a year, I think the positions for head teachers were advertised. But unfortunately, that time, most of the teachers who were on ground, those who could apply, could not qualify, because their papers, you know, as a head teacher, you must be a bachelor holder. And that's why now you see that over 50% of our teachers have gone to join bachelors because they missed the chance. Otherwise, it's not a policy of the district maybe to put acting head teachers, but now that was the only solution, because the school can't run without a head teacher. And there are those who qualify and they are there, but we have very few. The percentage is very, very low for those who qualify to be substantive head teachers. Otherwise, if he's online, he can add more, but that's what I know. And I'm very sure, optimistic that in 1 or 2 years to come, we'll get the right people into those positions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita, for those. So let us now, I think I'll take one more question from Anyole, and then I'm going to do just a wrap up quickly, because time is not on our side now. I'll just get a few key points that have come out of this discussion and the way forward. Yes, Anyole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, KDA, for putting this together. I understand the logistics of getting something like this going. This is the 3rd or 4th one that I've attended, so kudos to you guys. I do appreciate that. I'm not going to repeat everything everyone has said so far. These are very good discussions. The biggest thing for me is the fact that many times we have these discussions and then they end there. There's no follow-ups, there's no action items, there's no accountability, if that is the word. But I liked all the presentations. I'm glad that you brought in an outside entity in the Busoga group that has given us an idea of what they're doing and how they're doing it. But in my personal opinion, we've seen what works. We know what works. Most of us, like Muklia was saying there, were products of Koboko, and we did well because there was an effort from both the school, the parents, and the community. And I think over the years, one of those entities has fallen off. And in my opinion, I think it's the community. I was just talking to Dr. Dr. Aine, and we're talking about the lack of involvement of the parents or of the community. There was a time when I went to Rujo Primary School, and then I ended up doing Primary 7 in Teremunga Primary School. When I was in Teremunga Primary School, if I was walking in town in my Teremunga uniform, I would be very, very aware of my environment, because I knew that at any time, anybody would stop me and ask me why I was in town during school hours. In this day and age, when I was in Koboko last, during school hours, there were pupils walking in town in school uniforms and nobody bothered to ask or to task them why they were walking around. I was just telling Dr. Aina how the old adage of a child is raised by the village has gone away. And the reason I bring this up now is because I think that KDA plays a very big role in trying to get that engagement back. I'm not sure what the solution is, but KDA can be a partner in trying to get the community engaged. We've seen that a place like Lima, for example, thus far, when the Mangasa and group got started to try and change the course of results in Lima, they engage the parents, they engage the school, they engage the community, and we've seen that results come out of that. So I think that going forward, there needs to be some sustained effort to try and make this, and I say sustained purposely because a one-time intervention is not going to happen. We tried to do something in Loble, a one-time thing, it didn't work well. Mangasa's group is doing something in Lima. They're making it sustained. And we want to make it to a point where the community takes ownership so that you're not always there to try and make it happen. We want to make it so that it's self-sustaining. I know everybody's time is precious, so I'll stop there for now. I look forward to more of these conversations. Thank you.
Okay, wow. Thank you, Anyole. Thank you for those remarks. Indeed, sustainability is the thing. And so now I think that's where we need to go. We need to take this discussion about sustainability. So what are the things that we are going to do and do them persistently in a sustained way in order to be able to cause improvement in one? I think the one thing that has come out very clearly is about leadership in the schools. That's one of the takeaways that we need to focus on right now, that there is an issue of leadership in the schools. Where there's good leadership, both from the head teacher and the school management committee, there's buy-in, then that percolates to the parents, because the school management committee is the link between the school and the parents. So that is that is something that we need to go out now and try and work on. So leadership in the schools, both head teachers, that's where the education department comes in. Who are the head teachers in the schools? How are you monitoring the head teachers? What are the performance indicators? For us in the private sectors, there are things called KPIs. So what are the key performance indicators for the head teachers as you go and supervise them? Do you do a checklist? Do you check that this head teacher is sticking to the KPIs? If he is not, what are the repercussions? So that that helps a lot. The head teacher should know that if I don't meet my KPIs, there are repercussions or there are consequences. So that's something that we need to work on. We have talked about as the infrastructure may not be in the ambit of KDA, but it is about dialoguing, KDA dialoguing with the district and getting the partnerships, borrowing from what the Busoga team has done. They have partnered with development partners to be able to put some infrastructure in the schools. So we can go home with that. The issue of retooling has come out very clearly, the retooling of teachers, the issue of assessment, regular assessments. So how we come in as KDA, are we able to provide materials? Are we able to mobilize to strengthen the education, the examination department of the district? Maybe go to the sub-counties. Are we able to help in sourcing out examination materials, bringing the source persons to help? Then going to talk to the parents, community engagement. Community engagements are actually extremely important. Once the community is well informed and they have understood the importance of a certain school activity, like the DEO has talked about the school feeding program, if these engagements are also sustained, these don't require money. Bringing the parents together in the school to just talk about why it is important for them to provide food for their children, or why it is important for them to provide scholastic materials, I think the buy-in will be there, but it has to be sustained. School visits by OBs and OGs and career talks. These are things that I have picked, and I think we need to work on. So these will be processed, and then we work with the education department to actualize some of them, which can be actioned right away. Patricia made a comment that we all have the human resources there. Within KDA, we are educationists are there, professionals are there. In the district, the human resources there. What is lacking now is for us to put our heads together and come up with a strategic direction that we need to do this and actually put our feet to doing what we have planned to do. Before I call our chairman, Dr. Kajobe, to conclude, I'd like to share with you what the board had discussed and come up with, because it was in 2019, there was a fundraising actually drive towards education. We had purpose to do that. It's COVID that came and messed everything up. But there are things that we agreed as a board that need to be done. So let me just share my screen very quickly and go through them for you to just have a feel of where the board is with this. Okay, so we had agreed as a board in our last meeting that we should start on a scholarship. Part of our education flagship was to look at secondary, lower secondary, particularly senior 1 to senior 4, to do scholarship. So we, in the last board meeting, when we sat to look at the results presented, we agreed on a number of things. I think, let me do our slideshow. Okay, so we agreed that we are going to offer as a board, as KDA, and that's most of you who are members of KDA, this is of interest to you because the last slide will talk about the funding, that there will be a scholarship to be offered, full scholarship to start with. As when financial status improve, we will get more, but to offer 4 scholarships, full scholarships, 2 boys and 2 girls, and the scholarship will target the disadvantaged children, those whose parents cannot afford to pay the fees, or those who are orphaned. The beneficiaries originating from Koboko, that was a very important point, to be admitted to begin with in a secondary school in West Nile. And we will do a background check just to ensure that the documents which are tendered are correct. The scholarships will be advertised and a call for applications issued. The education committee of the KDA board will be responsible for this scholarship. There will be a committee and there will be a criteria for vetting, which criteria, after being established by the education committee, and will be approved by the board. So those are things we agreed we have proposed. These will come to you as a General Assembly to ratify. Vetting criteria, of course, the vulnerability indicators. Then there's merit, those who have performed very well, and particularly they should have sat for PLE from Koboko. That is to encourage and to part of their motivation that Mukulia was talking about. So if these scholarships are advertised, that if you do very well from Nyakalio or from Tukaliri, from Ogo, there is a scholarship for you for your O level. So I think that will motivate them. There must be a willingness to undertake that secondary education from West Nile. And they should be able to express themselves, the issue of expression. We want to see our children from an early stage know how to express themselves and also know what they want to be in future. So that will be important, one of the vetting criteria. Budgeting. So where are we going to get this money to support them throughout their O level? Where shall the money come from? Remember that if we start it, it has to be cascaded, meaning there's a cohort that starts, they go to the next class, another one comes, so it must be sustained in a continuous way. Now, where is the money going to come from? We are looking at KDA members as the primary source of funds, so the subscriptions, and the annual subscription and the membership fee that we are supposed to pay will cater for that. We also target to get donations from philanthropists, corporate organizations offering scholarships. We will write to them. We will look at fundraising drives. Most of the things that actually the Busoga Education Initiative has put forward, we had already talked about them. Fundraising drives, we held one. We need to hold more to raise money in that basket. Then proposal writing to development partners to raise money. And then finally, a quick one already, this is what we have proposed. So we are presenting it to you. If we are to get 4 students to do their first term, we're looking at the Ombachi as a case study. Their first term fees for senior 1 is about 1.2 million. So if we use that to just do a quick budget for the 4, it will be 4.8 million. Term 2 and term 3 at 680 will give us that amount of money. This is just bare minimum to start with. And the first year, the total amount we think to kickstart this is about 10,240,000. We have also proposed in our meeting to reward the 159 first graders for 2020 with a mattress. That was a suggestion. And the total cost for this reward is 10,205,000. So if we are to start in first term 2022, which is just January next year, we need in our coffers as KDA to start this off amount of money, a minimum of 20,445,000. In the coffers already, the treasurer told us we have 12 million. So somehow we can start, but we need to have this minimum of 20,445,000. So briefly, that is what is in plan. And so my appeal now, apart from looking at the other issues that have been presented by the take homes from this discussion, let us also be thinking about that particular component so that we become and we begin action, because I think Anyole rightly pointed, we've been talking, so we need to get into action. We need to get doing things. We did a bit during lockdown. We did radio talk shows and sensitization. Now that's not enough. Let us run with this. I think I will want to keep it here, to leave it here, and invite my board chairman to just give the concluding remarks, and then we close. Dr. Kajobe.
Thank you very much, Charles. You're coming for ably steering us through. As usual, you are really a professional teacher. Once a professional teacher is always a professional teacher. Thank you very much for ably leading us. Also, thank you to our DEO, Mr. Dagamulai, for the presentation and the analysis. Thank you to Mr. Dimba David Maimerenye, for the ably also analyzing. And we thank Judith and the ambassador from Busoga for giving us the insights to what has been taking place there. As already said, we need to take action. Already, Charles has already summarized what the way forward. Sustain, how can we sustain the response so that it is not going to be a one-off? The issues of inspections, the issues of reporting, the issues of parents' participation, the issue of scholastic material, the issue of feeding. The local government already has the bylaw for school feeding. We just need to enforce it. We have very good bylaws, we just need to enforce it. So the local government has to be brought on board now. Chairperson LC5, the technical wing and the political wing, that bylaw is already there for the one. So we need to do two things: enforce the bylaw and also educate the parents how to do the feeding. Now, we have taken all these recommendations. The way forward, Charles has already summarized them. The most important thing is now for us to make sure that these meetings, for us now, we have come back. I think the lockdown due to COVID, the situation is now improving. We shall have these meetings back more frequently, but now should not only be meetings. When we come back, to mobilize people to participate. Let us now go beyond the discussions, either on webinar or beyond the discussions on WhatsApp. Can we have the people who are active also in the discussions in these different platforms really be active, involved now in the implementation? Can we translate that enthusiasm from the platforms talking, the enthusiasm to go to the implementation of these recommendations, which are really very good? If we can translate the enthusiasm and the different platforms, either on the email, the SMS, and on the WhatsApp, to real actualizing and participating and really doing things on ground, following these recommendations, I think we shall go a long way. You know, Busoga is very big, 11 districts. We are dealing with only one district, I think, and we are many. We can be able to do that. So I request that we translate our debates in a different fora to the enthusiasm, to the implementation, so that when we are called upon, we only not talk, but we show up and really act and do what we are supposed to do. We thank you very much for taking time. We have taken 2.5 hours, but it was very important that we did this. So thank you very much. I think we shall call the next meeting to not delay like the past, so that we move the next level. Thank you very much, and I therefore close our meeting now. Back to our moderator, Charles, if you have anything.
Yes, thank you very much, our board chairman. And maybe at the call to action right now, I have presented to you, apart from what our board chairman has already said, our call to action is to actually go and actualize some of the action points that we have already realized in this meeting, to go and make them happen. And then two, you are KDA members, so every one of you is behind. The treasurer is not here, but I know, I'm in the know, the secretariat knows that all of us are behind with our subscriptions to KDA. So let us give in the money. I've already given to you the need. There is a need for 20,445,000 shillings to start work in January when the senior ones report. We would like to begin with that appreciation for all the first graders in Koboko. That will sound, it will be part of our marketing to appreciate all of them, and then get the 4 who are going to be sponsored. And I'm happy to know Dr. Nyakale has just joined. Dr. Nyakale, you came late, but thank you for joining. That is your role. You have been very, very good.
It's supposed to be charged immediately.
Dr. Nyakale, I think board chairman, you allow me to introduce Dr. Nyakale and for him to say 1 or 2 words. But we need him to raise money. Dr. Nyakale, we need 20,445,000 to be able to start with the education sponsorship scheme that you are actually aware of since 2019 and you're very passionate about. So you can just say a word or 2 on how you're going to actualize this. This I'm throwing to you. Dr. Data, can you hear me?
All right. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. And my apologies that I came late. But better late than never. And I'm happy KDA is taking the issue of motivating excellent performers a little bit seriously. And yes, that's a challenge that we have accepted, and we look forward to working together to raise that money. Thank you.
Great. Okay. KDA members, you have heard the owner of the basket is up to the task. Please don't disappoint him. And Abakari has said he should start with putting in the basket because he came late. So Dr. Nyakale, your work is cut out for you already.
Special without apology, you know. That is the issue. If he apologized, it was fine. I will be late. But anyway, being a doctor, we understand.
Okay.
We shall share the written way forward, the way forward is shared so that this issue is captured for those who have not seen, who have not be able to attend, so that they can follow from the way forward, and then they catch up and they know why we are asking for this money. Thank you.
All right.
As Charles said, 20 million, but we have a reserve at least of 12.
We have 12 million in the account.
We at least we are starting from somewhere.
Okay, so let us go and work. I want to thank everyone for those who have joined us from the US, Anyole, Isaac. Did I see a Jonye? Yeah, thank you all for connecting, and let us meet again. Probably very soon we'll announce the next meeting. But in the meantime, be sending your contributions to our treasurer. I can see Charles Malay joining when we are closing. The Canadians, I don't know whether they were still sleeping. Unfortunately, he's joining when we have closed, where we are closing. But thank you all for making time, and see you next time. Romu, sorry, you have just joined when we are closing. Romu Charles Malay. I think you guys of Vancouver, you are sleeping. Sorry about that, but we missed your useful contributions today. But thank you all for your great contributions. So we will be talking again very soon. God bless you. So bye-bye.
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 Bye, thank you. Thank you, Patricia, for helping Jaco. I should also revenge.